Someone who helps Fortune 500 brands rank inside ChatGPT and Claude just sat down with Sequoia and said something that should terrify every marketer watching this. He said the internet as we know it could be dead within 3 years, that humans are about to stop browsing websites entirely, that agents are going to replace consumers as the people walking through the front door of every business on earth. And the data he's showing backs it up. But here's what nobody in the comments is talking about. Yeah? Are you upset about it? You keep wanting to be seen. There's one category of business, one that is structurally immune to what he's describing. And Google just quietly launched a product that confirms they know it too. I've been working in this category for 10 years. Let me show you what I see.
We've now reached a point in marketing where if your marketing team is not using agents, and in particular profound agents, to do marketing, then you are failing. It's gone from a nice to have to a must have. And I think the big misconception with using agents to build marketing is that it's just a way to automate the work that we've been doing in the past.
Now.
Yeah. Well, thanks for having me on, Sonia. I mean, I think, what we're witnessing is the biggest platform shift in the history of marketing as the world turns from blue link search, like predetermined blue link search, to probabilistic AI responses. And it's more than that as well. It's not just kind of a case of do you show up when someone asks ChatGPT about your category. It's, what does ChatGPT say, or how does Claude, recommend your software, for example, if you're talking about coding tools. These models are really replacing, it's the agents, and super intelligence is replacing the role of the consumer. It's not so much that the front door of the internet has changed. It's actually the person that's going through the door has changed. It's gone from being a consumer that is using a list of blue links to discover your website and click into it, to an agent is now using, a similar index and discovering your brand, products and services, and then coming back through the door and, maintaining that relationship with the consumer.
So it's interesting. So the point he's making is something that I've heard from a lot of other people, including Sundar Pichai, the CEO of Google himself. The way he phrased this when asked about the future of Google search is that he sees Google search becoming an agentic manager, where you go to Google, you type in what you're searching for, what you're interested in learning, and then instead of Google's algorithm giving you links or an AI overview giving you an answer, instead Google will dispatch a series of AI agents to go find exactly what you want. This is exactly what he's saying. Marketers are continuing to pattern match to the latest platform shift. This is not what we're talking about. The channel itself isn't changing, the user is. Where we used to think about writing so that we could rank on Google search, and then once you're ranked, optimizing for the humans. That's now not very important. Most everything is writing to rank on Google search and to be recommended by AI, and then that's kind of it.
That's so fascinating. Okay, so your point is, ChatGPT may be the new front door, but the thing that's important for marketers is, you now have an agent walking through that door and making a big part of that buying decision for you.
Yeah, it's this. I think that's the fundamental difference. It's that the internet has remained the same. It's just who is using the internet. When you ask ChatGPT a question or Gemini a question, what you're essentially doing is asking an agent to go and crawl the internet on your behalf. Mm-hmm. And it's an agent that's going to visit all of those websites that you used to visit.
Yeah.
And it's an agent that's going to determine if that's useful or this is useful, and remix all of that information into an answer that it spits out to you as, here you go.
Yeah. What do you think is the biggest misconception people have about what it takes to show up well for this new agentic paradigm?
I think the biggest misconception is that it's just SEO. There's a reason why that misconception exists, because, yeah, of course, you still, in any world of marketing and discovery, there is an impetus on a brand, or you said we work with, it's close to 12% of the Fortune 500 now. Their marketing teams use Profound, and in any world, the solution to a problem is to create content, distribute content on your own channels, or earned media or social channels, etc. So they're very similar levers to what we've seen with SEO. And yes, ranking on the index still matters. It's just that the human consumer is no longer using the web. And you are building content that may quite literally never be consumed by a human.
So I can agree with what he's saying. It's interesting because he almost immediately went against himself. He said it's not just SEO, but then he went to talk about how ranking on Google, which is obviously SEO, is still very important. The difference he's talking about is what I literally just said, that instead of writing content to rank on Google and then convert humans, it's writing content to rank on Google and then talk to AI agents. For enterprise, absolutely, there's a lot there. If we think about local search, that discipline is basically already there, right? We know that pretty much every AI agent is using the Google business profile as the center of a business entity. ChatGPT uses Bing for business, but it's basically the same thing. You can actually even copy them over. So when we think about like doing that for an AI agent in the local space, it's really, I don't know, GBPO. So the misconception here isn't local marketers thinking that it's just SEO. It's enterprise marketers thinking that their playbook transfers one-to-one.
And I think the fundamental difference between SEO and this new world is that in SEO, you were building content that was designed to be, picked up by an algorithm, but fundamentally consumed by a human. Whereas in this new world, you are building content that is frankly designed entirely to be both discovered and then consumed by an agent.
He's not wrong. And honestly, for local, we've been in this situation for many, many years, right? In local search, what we're focused on doing is ranking the GBP farther and farther away from the searcher's location, okay? We're not trying to rank the individual website. Very few people who are searching for a local business will spend significant time on that local business's website. From Google Analytics data, it's like 20 to 30 seconds at most. So for local search, this isn't actually a huge change. We're already building content to rank the GBP so that the GBP can rank farther and farther for more and more different queries, knowing that the likelihood of a human ever reading that content is exceptionally low.
So I would imagine humans are less patient than agents. I imagine humans are more prone to emotional biases and being swayed by language than agents. Like, what are the biggest differences between how humans and how agents consume the internet that marketers should keep in mind?
It's understanding that an agent crawling the web, looking for an answer or providing an answer, frankly, will discover information differently to a human. And so it uses the index differently to us. In the old world of SEO, 95% of the value is being in that top 4 blue links, the top 5 blue links. And that really is a function of our scarce cognitive energy and patience and our lack of time. Where an agent is using that index, it's what we've seen is ChatGPT or Gemini or Claude are far more prone to using the long tail of the internet, and the amount of surface area that an agent will use to answer a question is orders of magnitude wider than a human.
Absolutely. Completely agree with this point that he's making. And when Google started to talk about its Ask Maps feature, which basically integrates Gemini into Google Maps, Google started to talk about attribute matching, where somebody can ask something very specific to Ask Maps, very similar to what they might type into ChatGPT, and Gemini or ChatGPT, the agent of your choice, is actually going to read all of the reviews about this business on all of the different platforms and look for evidence on those reviews that this business has done that exact service before that you're asking about. It's going to look on your website to see if you talk about doing that exact service, whereas a human wouldn't. A human might need a water heater replacement, so they type in plumber Phoenix, and they're going to just call the first or second result. But if you go to ChatGPT and say, hey, I have a 50-gallon water heater, it's in the closet, I need it replaced in the next day, then the AI agent is going to go and look at a lot more information. And I believe 10 times, 100 times the amount of information. Look at reviews. Has this plumber replaced that size of a water tank before? Has he done that before in this closet, in this suburb? Is this a specific place he's working at before? Whereas a human is just going to tap the call button.
Like, for instance, probably about 3 or 4 months ago, I was looking for a shower head for my apartment in New York City, and I used ChatGPT to help me find a new shower head, and it used 65 different web pages to answer that question.
Wow. I think I probably went through 65 web pages on my own for that query. It's a very important purchase.
Yeah, right. So, I mean, again, he's right. But if we think about someone who needs a water heater replacement or a trucker who's broken down on I-10, they're not asking ChatGPT to compare 65 options. They're opening maps and they're going to hit the first call button. The user behavior that he's describing here very much applies to what we refer to as high trust research purposes. It does not apply to like an urgent local service. So what this means, right, is if you're a local service like an LASIK eye surgeon or a cosmetic surgeon, then we absolutely, in Google Analytics data, we see people spend 10, 15 minutes on websites for those high trust services. Most local businesses aren't in those spaces. Most local businesses, Google Analytics, people are spending less than 20 seconds there.
And if so, what's the root cause?
Yeah, I mean, we see huge differences between the platforms.
Okay.
And frankly, as a shameless plug, that's why marketers are using software like Profound, because what we're able to do is help you understand not just how your brand or product shows up across different platforms. So, okay, do you show up more frequently in Gemini responses or Claude responses or ChatGPT responses? But also we extract the sentiment and the themes around, so when Claude surfaces your brand or product, what are the other things that it says alongside the answer?
Yeah.
But then we also get to the root cause. So we expose to marketers, okay, these are the citations and sources that the different models are using to answer questions about your brand, your products, your category, or your competitors.
Yeah.
So once you understand the what and the why, then in Profound, the next step is you're building and deploying your own agents to sort through all of that data and build a new type of marketing.
And is the primary root cause that they have, different harnesses? Is the primary root cause that they have different training data mix? Primary root cause, some of them, bias for, let's say, Reddit data over, company-owned platforms. Like, what's the root cause for why these platforms are so different in terms of how companies show up?
Think of them, this sounds very reductive, but think of them as just different species. If what we've seen is Gemini will lean on YouTube content a ton, which makes sense because Google owns YouTube. So that we see YouTube being a huge lever for brands or marketers that want to appear in Gemini responses. Whereas ChatGPT, we see typically pulls from Reddit if it's consumer, or if it's B2B, it will typically pull from LinkedIn. We see as a huge source of truth. Claude has been changing a lot recently. I think
and why is that? I noticed this. It seems like between 4.5 and 4.6, even like what it's recommending has changed a lot. Why do you think that is?
I think Claude has historically relied more on the pre-trained LLM to answer questions, and is now, I think they've updated their classifiers or something that's, basically the classifier seems to have become a bit more sensitive to, real-time information. So Claude will use the web more to answer questions is what we're finding.
Okay.
But I think, the next paradigm here, humans are such creatures of heuristic.
So this is interesting, and this is something that we've known and we've honestly been taking advantage of again in the local space, right? We know that YouTube presence feeds Gemini. We know that reviews on your GBP, on Yelp, on Trustpilot feed all of these different AI tools. This is one of the reasons that at our local SEO agency, we will often produce YouTube videos for every third to every fourth article we publish, one that helps rank on Google, but even in a world where Google is going away, having a presence on YouTube also helps feed Gemini, which is incredibly helpful for the Ask Maps feature, which we see as becoming the future of local search. So again, this GBP and model differences, this multi-platform play has very similar equivalents for local space.
2 articles, one written by a human, like a journalist, and the second written by AI. And it was like 53% of readers voted afterwards on a blind test that they preferred the AI written content.
Wow.
I think slop is a red herring that is going to be quite quickly disproven. It's a really, I'm not saying you're suggesting this, but I do think that this idea of if it's written by AI equals slop is a stupid one.
Yeah.
I think AI is more than capable of writing high quality content, high quality marketing. It's just that the way to think about it is that the consumer is super intelligent now. So you as a brand or a marketer, you need to tell Claude something it doesn't know. How do you tell a super intelligent being something it doesn't know already when it's been trained on the entire internet?
How do you? What do you say?
They have original insight. Really humans are this kind of fleshy API between reality and the internet at this point, right?
I completely agree. And if we're talking about writing content for SEO, writing content for AI systems, what we want to do is take a look at the content that already exists about that topic and then write something similar to it, but add unique insights, add more information that isn't already on the other results that are ranking nearby. So every time we're writing content for local SEO, we're always starting, our step one is going to be to do research about that exact service we're writing content about. Not just the service, that exact service in that exact city, okay? So we're going to look at Google's People Also Ask questions. We're going to look at Reddit. We're going to look at Facebook forums. We're going to look at the competitive websites. We're going to look at other local forums. We're going to find out what are people actually asking about for that service in that local city, and then we're going to write about that. We're going to make sure that is included in our local articles, okay? This point that he's making, original insight, is the moat. Original insight is what gets you cited, what gets you ranked. So that means the original insight, it's first-party operational truth, right? That means your service area, that means your photos, your reviews, your actual problems you can solve, your properly categorized service list. This is exactly why the system that we use, that we call the Core 30, this is exactly why it works. It's not clevered content. It is structured truth that is designed to build this trust with these AI systems that exactly match your website to your GBP to what people are actually asking about in your area.
I'd love to chat about dead internet theory. Like, at what point do you think the internet is just primarily being browsed by agents? And at that point, does a company's marketing website matter at all? Does a company's, ranking in the search engine, in the traditional search engines matter at all? Or should we all just have a README file for the agents to crawl?
I mean, at the risk of sounding a little dramatic, I think that we could experience a dead internet outcome in the next 3 years. I do think it's possible. Maybe not likely, but what does that mean? It means that in a world where humans just speak to AI to get the responses that they need, the incentive to publish content diminishes to the point of zero. Yep. Meaning, we rely as humans today.
This is a strange dichotomy from his earlier stance about writing content for the AI systems. Now he's saying there's no benefit to writing content, but if the AI systems are reading it, absorbing it, and providing advice to their users based on the content, you still have the advantage, you still have the incentive to write content, even if it's not for humans.
And AI we underestimate just how much we rely on first-party reporting to feed the information that AI uses to answer questions or to feed the information that appears in a search engine that we rely on every day. Yep. And I think in a world where humans no longer click into websites, the majority of the internet is still funded by advertising, for a start. So, most publishers rely heavily on advertising revenue to fuel all of the content that is being more and more consumed by AI.
Mm-hmm.
In a world where consumers, humans, aren't visiting those web pages anymore, well, what's the point in advertising on a web page that a human isn't visiting? So then their business model breaks, the economics of the internet break, and the incentives to create editorial content are removed.
Yep.
And then in that world, you start to ask the question, well, where does AI go to answer these questions?
To the README files.
But then why would you publish a README file?
Because the agent needs to go somewhere to answer a question, right?
It works if you're a brand or a marketer, but why would would you publish a blog? What's the point?
I publish hi, I'm Sonia, the VC, and these are the companies I've worked with. And like as a founder is trying to reason through which venture capitalists I work with, like it finds my README file.
I think that's correct for...
Yeah. Measured agreement with what he's saying here. The incentive structures are breaking. And this is challenging. It's problematic. It's a problem to figure out. But honestly, the one category that, at least for now, is essentially structurally immune to this is local service businesses. Because at the end of the query, there still has to be a human with a wrench who can fix the thing, okay? Agents can research, they can compare, they can recommend. As of yet, they can't actually unclog a drain. Now, Dario Amodei, the CEO of Anthropic, thinks that's coming in the next 5 to 10 years, but that seems soon. Google knows this. That's why they rolled out Ask Maps. Now, Google has publicly described the future of search as basically an agentic search manager. Ask Maps launched as Google's first agentic consumer project consumer product for local discovery. The signal to this is that Google is conceding discovery to AI across the board, except they're building their own agent specifically for local because GBP is a data moat that no one else has. Lily Ray did an analysis on this, and that showed that AI mode cites GBPs more than any other external websites for local queries. That's what I mean when I talk about how the GBP is the center of your business's entity. So he's right that the internet very likely could break. But what he's missing is that Google already knows where the next moat is, and it's the category with a human at the end of every single query. Local. GBP is their data moat. GBPs will keep people and AI systems coming back. The core 30 is how you defend it. Now, this isn't the end of local SEO. It's the beginning of local AEO, to borrow a silly acronym. But AEO is fundamentally 95% the same thing as local SEO. It looks so much like the local SEO that you've already been doing. There's just more at stake because the podium is getting smaller. So I want to come back to something he said about the dead internet theory. I've been thinking about this. I filmed that original video a couple days ago, and I just couldn't get this out of my head, so I felt compelled to come back and add this. I think he's wrong about what happens next. His argument is that the internet dies because the ad-funded content goes away. Publishers stop publishing, bloggers stop blogging. No humans clicking means no ad revenue, means no reason to create. Fine. That part probably does collapse or at least suffers a lot. But look, a huge chunk of the internet is not ad funded. It's people trying to sell you something. It's people trying to convince you of something. It's brands, it's affiliates, it's consultants posting thought leadership, it's local businesses writing about their services. None of that goes away when the ad tier dies. They're not writing for ad revenue. They're writing to influence. And in a world where LLMs are the new front door, what do you think that group of people does? They don't stop publishing. They publish more. They publish specifically to feed the models. They publish to get cited. They publish so their brand shows up when an agent is making a buying or influencing decision on behalf of a customer. So the internet doesn't die. It gets worse than dead. The disinterested content, the hobbyist writing about their niche, the journalist covering something because it matters, the person just sharing what they learned, that's the stuff with the weakest incentive to keep going. That dies first. What survives is content with an agenda attached to it. Commercial content, persuasion content, content written by people who want something from you. And all of that is now feeding the LLMs, which means that the models are being trained and grounded on an internet where every remaining voice has a motive. That's not dead, that's worse than dead. That's a propaganda layer dressed up as an answer engine. Okay, wow, that feels negative to say. Now, if you want to go deeper on where this is all heading, the Google CEO did an interview recently where he walked through exactly this: the agentic search manager, the handoff layer, the role of maps, and all of this. I have a full breakdown to that interview linked up top. It's the perfect companion if you thought this was an interesting video. And honestly, the two together give you the complete picture of where search is going in the next 12 months. Watch that next.